Hello, my name is Aske. I work as a guest janitor slash cinematic artist slash motion graphic artist for IO Interactive, creating the coolest game ever, Hitman.
I'm not sure I can do a follow on that. My name is Nick, and I'm also a cinematic artist.
Yeah,
Together
but
we
you're
are,
not a guest janitor. That's only me. Yeah,
Together we
pretty good.
are a small team that do the motion graphics for the briefings. Yeah.
Should maybe lay it all out.
Yeah.
Nick has been here since season 1 doing the briefings. I've been here since season 2 doing briefings. And then once we started the DLC package, our beautiful and new director Cosmo Wallace pushed us towards doing in-game cutscenes. And so that's what we tried to
quite
achieve.
a quest
Yeah.
to figure it out, because it's a big process to do like in-game cinematics but it turned out cool.
Yeah.
I hope you guys like it.
A good example is like the first hurdle we had was like we couldn't do like audio, so we couldn't do people talking and render that out from engine, because usually when you see stuff in a game, you usually see it like in real time. But the briefings are a menu-based video, so we had to pre-render a lot from the engine. And so one of the things was that you basically couldn't render out audio and facial expressions.
As a way in.
I'll tell the pilot to turn the plane around.
It was like we had those the facial expressions that weren't queued up to audio, so the render team had to kind of basically do that, fixing that issue, and that's like one of the small things we encounter basically every day, where we very much rely on like the entire house for help. Because it might be animation, it might be environment, it might be lighting.
And everybody is involved, so that's also why we try to think of it as a small RPG game. We go from one wizard to another wizard. We get pointed to a new quest, and that's how we solve. So we should say that we have the writers. They come in.
Small part.
Yeah, small part. No, they come in, give us a script. We look through it, like kind of break it down into blocks, and then we try to do a storyboard, and we try to visualize like how could we show the coolest way possible. Like how do we show the story in 1 minute? Without it being too complicated. So we try to break it down, talk to a director, and sort out the angles, symbology, and all that. And if there's something that's too hard to illustrate, we can go back to the writer and hey, can you change this to something else? So that's a big part of it.
I think we learned a lot from season 2, the briefings, because that's obviously what we did back then. That sounds like it was ages ago. Was like doing these abstract visualization of a backstory, because when you do a backstory for a level, you don't necessarily have the backstory that's written within the certain level. So one example is Raccoon. We did that recently. We had this traveling story of 47 and Lucas Gray going from Isle of Scale, where we left off in season 2, moving to New York, and this travel from Isle of Scale to New York had a lot of different places where we had to go, and all of these places we basically had to like build these scenes. So and basically what we did is like we use old stuff like a library and There's like an airstrip scene where we're using this basically just in Colorado, where we move off to the distance and then we start placing a plane and placing the racetrack from Miami as a landing strip, and
Yeah, and
it is a lot of
small
like
island they take the plane from. I think that's the rocks from Isle of Scale.
Yeah.
And the backdrop is maybe something. Is it
It's
Colombia
like
or something?
Yeah. Sunset.
We steal what we
something.
can.
Yeah.
So.
Basically steal from the library.
Yeah.
Don't tell anyone. Yeah, and then we usually move on to, again, these abstract visualizations.
Yeah.
Raccoon is, again, a good example. We have a lot of talk about, like, providence and why is Athena Savalas this evil woman that can be a little bit hard to explain within the level. Also because we want to keep stuff secret and not reveal too much before we move into the level. So it's basically like telling a story of why you're here, but also leaving a lot for the players to experience themselves. Because you could end up just like showing the entire level, and that probably wouldn't be too good for the player to like have everything sorted out. Yeah, I have the entire map now. Let me go play and get no surprises at all.
Okay, so the next step is after we blocked out the storyboard, we're gonna do rough animations, and that is called an animatic. So that's maybe just early model of a 3D stuff, very crude, but just to get a flow of the movie and get
camera
the
movement right, and
so before you do it all nice and shiny, you just want to do get the right flow of the movie. Yeah. So you can.
You don't want to spend too much time on like creating something that looks incredibly beautiful, and then you figure out, the cameras were all
that
shit.
Doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense, or just like poorly done and doesn't add up to the story, and
and
totally.
that does happen sometimes. Like we do a scene and then you look at it and like you have to step back, and then
it hasn't
it's like,
happened to me yet, but
I need to go now.
Yeah, exactly. No. Usually do the animatic, then we start like texturing, lighting, blocking up the entire cinematic, basically, like very crude scenes. So if we have a scene with 47 and Lucas Gray meeting up, there's no animations on him. It's basically like the two models in T-pose, moving up to each other, having a conversation, and then moving off again. And then once that we're getting closer and closer, animation starts doing their magic. And then once you get big thank you again to the animators.
Yeah. And once you get closer, like when you get it in there, it's very crude. And then then you can start chopping it up, and then that's also where cinematics director comes in, and he's like, because he knows, he can see that stuff, right? Yeah. So that's iteration. You can just see it once the animation gets more flushed. You can see the flow of the movie, and
it's also again very very important, I think, to support the director basically. So Cosmo very often has a good idea of what the story is about, because he obviously was in on writing it along. He didn't write it, but he's in on the process of creating these stories for this elaborate universe. And in connection and alongside him, we start blocking up a lot, basically the entire movie, with very crude animations and so on. And then you start polishing, because like you need the basic story to be there before you can start polishing, I guess.
I actually say 20% of the production is almost like making it look nice and polishing up, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, so that's like a small insight to I guess what at least the two of us do at the cinematic department.
Yeah, a very shortened down version of the process. Of doing a cinematic.
Yeah, and again, like super nice to have open
cool
help.
That you have a place where there's so many wizards at one.
It was spot. A quest. It is a quest of creating great briefings and cinematics. Mic drop! Sorry, Clemens.
Nej, det er fint.